Okay, we're going to try this outdoors and hopefully that the audio is good enough. These contexts we're going to look at right now are aimed at microbatics exploration. We're going to try and look at moving through a space without too many clear lines of techniques or forms to copy, and instead try and use 3 different tasks to help us bring an awareness to certain principles that are potentially more useful than simply learning techniques by themselves. So the first task and the first principle we're going to look at is weight shifting. To do this, we're going to stay on all 4s if possible, or quite close to the ground, so we have 4 points of contact that we can move through and between. The constraint here is going to be moving only 1 of those limbs at a time. So it's almost like we're doing very safe climbing, where we have 3 points of contact, we move 1 limb. 3 points of contact, we move a limb, so on and so on. And again, the main focus here is weight shifting between them. So what we're looking at here is curating awareness of shifting our center of mass between supports, and we're looking to move a support with the easiest, or let's say least amount of effort, so the easiest manner possible. Now, some things that can help you here is not thinking too much about where you place a limb. Just place it wherever it feels natural and good. Second detail, you can start to look for sensations that help you move. So for example, it might be a certain stretching sensation if you move a limb in a certain direction or a certain distance away from you, or it could simply be the idea of ease and lack of effort. So the second principle, or the second concept or idea we're going to look at, is the head and the hip relationship. So what we've been doing in the first task was moving the center with the base of supports. We maintain this awareness and this intention of moving with ease through the supports, but now we have more of a focus on the region between the hip and the head. We can now remove the constraint of moving only 1 limb at a time, and this time lead the motion via the task of articulating through the spine and starting to gain an awareness between these 2 heavy objects, like this. One thing I forgot to say here is we can really start to play with the height of the hip and the head in relationship to each other. It's really going to help you explore here. couple of extra details here. You can start to vary the speed, so you can move a bit quicker through space or a bit slower through space, and also the distance of the weight shifts. You can try and move your limbs long and far away from you, or you can have more intricate and quicker movements. The final layer here is going to be diminishing and generating momentum. So we kind of looked at speed changes in the last drill, but this one's going to be a little bit more moving the center of mass away from the earth or into the earth. So we'll call diminishing the idea of bringing the center of mass down into the earth and using the weight and the friction of the floor to slow us down. And we'll use generating as the idea of producing force so the mass drives up and away from the earth into space. I don't want to use too many fixed forms for this one, so really trying to simply move with a sense of care of your center of mass. And when we do diminishing, try and find an easy and soft way down that isn't too impactful. Maybe trying to find circles using the limbs wherever you need to make sure the center comes down into the floor. And when we're doing the generating, I'll show you a couple of different contexts that I think are going to help. There is of course going to be some fear involved here depending on your awareness of the inverted world. So again, go slowly and feel this out. It's more of an explorative drill to help you move in more of an improvised context without too much stress, hopefully. Now we have generating. For generating, we're looking at producing force upwards, as I said, making the center of mass travel away from the earth. What we can do here is start to drive one leg or the other leg, or a scissoring. When we drive one leg, we have less chaos or less moving parts. It's a case of just splitting the legs, hopping and landing on the same leg, like so. If we do scissoring, what happens is we have one leg drive, other one joins it as the other one comes down. So we have a reciprocation of force, which sometimes actually helps us and causes less force on impact. The reason why is when one leg comes down, the other one's going upwards. So there's less force here. However, there are more moving parts, so it can be a bit more tricky. So please, again, go of your own accord. I would suggest to begin with, to stay quite linear. So whenever you're moving around, find a square position of your body to your arms, drive one leg, other, or both, it's up to you, and start to gain confidence here. Over time, you can then start to find, let's say, non-square or non-linear motions or positions or entry points to then generate momentum, and you'll see what happens there. I'll begin first with a few linear examples of one leg up, one leg up, one leg up, or the scissoring, and then I'll start to be a bit more explorative and just open up these different angles, and you'll see what kind of happens to my body. Again, there's no fixed patterns here. Simply go with the exploration and see what comes up for you. What's important to note here is that we're layering these ideas together. So task number 1 and task number 2 are always present within the tasks of number 3, the diminishing and the generating. The final task, so the task, let's say number 4, or the ultimatum, is then to bring everything together and try and apply it in an open context, or an open exploration. So that's where we have all of the tasks coming together, generating, diminishing, weight shifting, all the awareness work, and just try and see what comes up for yourself. Start to push yourself in different directions, different areas, see yourself in new contexts maybe, and just see what potentials come up that maybe you could isolate and practice in the future. Within the open exploration, I really encourage you to kind of break the rules a little bit and not hold yourself too tightly to them. It's not a pass-fail type thing. Allow yourself to be playful, explorative, and just see what comes up. You might surprise yourself, and you might start to notice maybe some things that you repeat, some thoughts you have about yourself. Either way, it could be very interesting, something to work on in the future. Enjoy.